Welcome back to episode 7, and this episode is on home composting during COVID 19. After episode 6 of Jugaad Hacks for controlling common pests, there were a lot of you who wanted some idea of how to do home composting, and that's how we have this episode on. In this episode, I want to drive away all the myths and fallacies that surround home composting. If I have to define composting, I would say that it is a managed biological degradation process that converts heterogeneous organic matter into homogeneous humus. Now, if we go to the internet and look for composting technologies, I tell you it's a nightmare. There are so many conflicting technologies, so many ways of each person claiming that that is the right way to do things. You have so many formulas. You don't know whether to follow the aerobic Western way of doing things or look at the anaerobic Eastern way of doing things. Oh, it's a mess. So, in this episode, I am going to really look at the principles behind home composting that should be adopted by you at home as a jugaad technology. Western composting technology, it's actually suited to cold climates where high temperature during the exothermic process is preferred. It's a long duration process, can take anywhere between 4 to 12 months, but it came to India only in 1942. So, before 1942, what was India doing? What was the rest of Southeast Asia and the tropics doing? What kind of chemical free farming were we adopting in those days? These things can form an entire topic by itself, because this takes us back to the Vedic agriculture and what we were doing for nearly 10,000 years in this country. But for now, let's focus on home composting during the lockdown. Now, when we come to composting, it's full of various terms: CN ratio, the browns, the greens, how much of carbon, how much of nitrogen. What is this magic figure of 30 to 1? Should composting be done outdoors in the sun or indoors in the shade? What does turning the compost mean? What is the 3:1 ratio that is touted all over the internet? Now, should composting be aerobic or anaerobic? Just thousands and thousands of questions. The more you Google on YouTube, the more confused you get with these terms. So let's start. Carbon is the browns and nitrogen are the greens. So the carbon to nitrogen ratio is extremely critical if you need to do good home composting. For tropical India, the 30 to 1 ratio is what is required. That is, your compost should ultimately have 30 parts of carbon to 1 part of nitrogen. It should be done in the shade, and it should be done without turning the compost. That means every now and then you don't have to turn around the compost so that the heated inside comes to the outside and the cooler outside goes inside. Now, coming to the 3 to 1 ratio. Now, this has baffled many a home composting enthusiast. 3 to 1 ratio does not mean you take any form of brown, 3 parts, and mix it with 1 part of green. Because in India, during home composting, we want to do it anaerobically, that is, without oxygen. Understanding this 3 to 1 ratio is very, very important for us. Now, what they don't tell you when they say 3 parts of brown to 1 part of green is that within each of these greens and browns, there is a ratio of carbon and nitrogen. That's not told to us. Kitchen waste has already got 25 carbon and 1 nitrogen in it. Dried leaves, 60 carbon and 1 nitrogen. Cut grass or grass clippings, 17 to 1 ratio. Shredded paper, 175 to 1. So if I am mixing vegetable waste and dry leaves, I need to combine the 25 carbon and 1 nitrogen in vegetable to the 60 carbon and 1 nitrogen in the dry leaves to get a final mixture of 30 carbon and 1 nitrogen. So suddenly it's become highly mathematical. How do I get to that magical number of 30 to 1 when I've got so many things to mix together? But don't worry, this is Jugaad technology at work. The best site on Google that I have found to calculate your browns and greens is if you Google the best compost calculator using the Pearson square method, it'll bring you to this site which you can see above. And if you click skip ahead to calculator, it comes here. Now, here what you will find is that you have this box here. So suppose I want to put in the ratio in my pile. Suppose I say I'm going to use vegetables and grass. So vegetables we know is 25 carbon to 1 nitrogen. So here I will type in 25. And then here the leaves I know are 60 to 1. So here for leaves I will put 60. And then straight away it tells me how much of vegetable waste I should have and how much of leaves I should have. So it says here very clearly, if you see here, it says about 6 parts of your pile will be vegetable and 1 part of your pile will be leaves. Now just imagine, all this time you are being told that you have to put 3 of dried leaf to 1 part of vegetable waste. That was totally wrong, and I am very sure hundreds of you gave up composting because that didn't work. Because with so much of carbon, what would have happened is that it would have taken forever for it to compost. Now, the actual composting, at least in our conditions where we are looking at anaerobic composting, all you need is 6 parts of vegetable waste to 1 part of the dried leaves. And there you go. With this, you will never make a mistake again as far as the ratio of whatever you put in. We can put in any other ratios as well. Now, suppose I had to start with, let us say, grass clippings. Okay, so my grass clippings, I said that was going to be 17 to 1. Okay, that's got more nitrogen in it, so 17 to 1. And then I wanted to use newspaper with that, and newspaper, as we know, is let us say it's 100 plus carbon to this. Now if you see this, you will see that in this particular case, just 5 parts of grass with 1 part of newspaper will give you the perfect 30:1. This is a mathematical thing called the Pearson square, but we don't have to know the math. All we know is we can type in these two what we want, and then it will tell you how many parts of the first green and how many parts of the brown you need to add. And that's about it. So now let us look at anaerobic and aerobic. Why in India we want to stick to anaerobic conditions where oxygen is not there and so much of heat is not there. In aerobic composting, because of the heat, the good bacteria are inactivated or killed. This is not suitable for tropical countries like India. It's okay in the cold climes, but here in India, we need anaerobic. First of all, we will take one earthen pot, terracotta pot. And the terracotta pot should have a smaller neck. The opening should be small compared to the rest of the pot. Okay. We take the chilkas, we take the dry leaves. Now, this one, now you know the ratio. It will actually be 6 of the vegetable waste to 1 of the dry leaf. And then we will add a little bit of buttermilk. Those who know how to do garbage enzyme, you can add that. Those who know how to make jivamrita, you can put that. Okay. And then within about 1.5 months, maximum 2 months in winter, you get this wonderful compost out of your earthen pot. So no question of making a drainage hole, trying to remove tea and trying to, control the stink and the maggots and everything. It is just so beautifully done. A little bit of layering will be done with soil or with coco peat. Divya now will demonstrate that for you. Yeah, go ahead, Divya.
Yeah. So, hi, I want to share my method of how I do composting at home. And what I do is something very simple. Earlier, I used to try doing it in a plastic drum with holes and I had to turn it many times. So, as sir explained, this is the method that I'm using. I'm using this earthen pot. I just have this broken pot and I've layered it with some soil. I'm already composting in this. So I'm going to continue in the same pot. I will show you what I do. So this is my earthen pot and this is my green waste from today. Some ridge gourd peels and some dhania twigs. So I'm just going to put that all in. I just want to layer it. I don't want to press it into the pot. Just want to layer it up. And on top of that, like sir said, I'm going to add some buttermilk. I just take the water that is on top of the curd when the curd sets. So I'm just going to put some of this. That's it. And put some dry leaves. And some garden soil, just any soil that you have in the garden. And just layer it up with that. Gardening soil, this soil layering is important so that there is no stench and then there will be no pest also. Otherwise, if you don't cover it with soil, then there will be a lot of smell coming out of the compost.
So basically, it's a way of making it anaerobic. That is, we are doing it without air. We are doing it in an
So I've
anaerobic.
just
Yeah,
covered the
beautiful.
whole thing with soil and I keep it covered with any lid that I have. Just keep it covered. That's all. And within like 1.5 2 months maximum, I have my compost ready. I never turn it. I just take it out, and when I take out my compost, it looks something like this.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
It's just very soft and nice, and it smells very fresh. And all I need to do is just sieve it through a colander. That's all I do. It's a very quick process. Just take out the bottom part, and the top part that is saved in the colander can again go into composting. That's all. Just something very simple that we can all do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Divya. And I hope all of them have seen this. Of course, we will have a recording of this. And I tell you, for this lockdown period or even anytime home gardeners want to do this, this I find is the best jugaad way of doing. Let's not get anything more. I will bring now Chabi on, and Chavi, I believe, is the queen of recycling, but would you like to just quickly add?
Yeah.
1 minute.
So, there's a question that I have, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you don't have dry leaves, can I use these? I do use it. In fact, I do use it on my daily composting, like the cardboard boxes, the food boxes that comes in, the tissue papers, the paper towels, kitchen towels, and and some leftover paper, like when you really can't give them to a recycler or kabadi wala for that matter. I just put them into the composting bin. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you followed the jugaad numbers that I showed you, you have to do 15 to 1. You have 15 of the green, that's a vegetable waste, to just 1 of paper, and it'll work for you.
So there's a question, there's a concern that most of the people have, that we should not use printed papers and printed cardboard boxes. And that's
jugaad answer for this: as long as it's not laminated printing, you can. Yeah, if it's laminated printing, remove the lamination before you use it. Okay. Let us also hear about what you do with things like starch water from cooking rice.
Oh yeah, so that's a good thing which I discovered. So I really this like my starch water. So we generally tend to throw it down our basins, and it just goes into the your nallies, and it's just wasteful fertilizer, I would say, for the plants. So I use it for both my, in fact, hair and my plants, and I just kind of save it like this in a bottle, and then take 1 bucket of water and put one bottle of my starch, and then just pour it on my plants.
So it's
Similarly,
1:10, a 10-liter bucket?
about, yeah,
Approximate.
10 to 15 liter bucket.
So
Yes.
a ratio of 1:10 dilution is perfect, because this
Okay,
actually
great.
contains the nutrition, it contains the minerals, it contains so many things that are essential to plants. So it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, using this starch water. What else do you have for us?
So, sir, I also take my, like khatta dahi in the house, and when sometimes, dahi curd is left over and you're not using it. There's even namak wala dahi which is left over, you're not using it. And so I just put them in a copper vessel like this and again use it for the plants. So what we learned in home gardening workshops is like, it's like approximately 30 ml to 1 liter of water, and that's how I put it. And it just, and I use it on like a spray on my plants.
Okay, so and that is basically to control things like your fungus, isn't it?
Yes, I mean that's
Yeah,
what we are taught, and that's
that's
what
the very dilute acid in the curd, in the buttermilk, is actually what will control fungus. So this is again an excellent way of recycling home waste. What else do you do, Chavi?
So yes, sir. So I'm like going to show something which I do. I mean, it's for my garden. In fact, so I use a lot of plastic bottles. I don't let them go waste. And so like this is like one example. This is like a hanging basket that I have created, and of course wrapped it up with the jute cloth. And it looks so ethnic and it looks so beautiful. So it's like a small little succulent garden that has been created. It's a plastic bottle with, if you can see, it's like a Pepsi bottle. So I cut them into halves like this and drill some holes, with a screwdriver, and drill some holes in it, and make sure the soil is very light, and then just plant. And I make a lot of things out. I mean, I have of course made a lot of hangings out of it, and it looks beautiful. Use them as gifts for people. You really don't need to buy a lot of expensive pots. And 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 there is no plastic waste which is created from my house then.
Fantastic. And I'm seeing more pictures. Is everybody seeing? Divya, can you see the pictures on the screen? I'm sharing my screen right now. Chavi, you can continue to talk. I can see.
So yeah. So this is, what's the picture on the left that you see, like again, it's like another mini succulent garden, and that's like my front door, which we all can see. And I have really decorated all these planters there, like, and hung them and tied them with a wire and hung them like that. And just looks beautiful. It's like not maintenance free, doesn't break, and it's beautiful. Yes.
So
I
you
do
have
a
a
lot.
Wonderful address on your gate. Is that house which has got plants on it? Yeah.
Yes, house which has got a lot of plants. Yes, in a lot of weird ways. Like, I have plants growing in tires. I have plants growing in fact, I use plastic bottles for my, I have made hanging lights out of those plastic bottles for my garden, and it looks divine and beautiful too during the night.
Is this the one on the left?
Not this one, sir. There's another one. Yeah, this one on the left.
Yeah.
So I have made converted these plastic bottles. I just, I just cut the bottom lid and inserted a wire, and then, put in a lamp and just hung it on with the tree. And here it's ready. It's like, it's ready.
Wow.
Just, you need to cut
that
the
should
base.
look wonderful at night. What is this other intriguing thing on the right
So
hand?
sir, as you said, I'm like into recycling a lot of things. So this is, if you pinch out a bigger view of it, so I have used all the old coins, which were like 25 paisa, 10 paisa, 5 paisa coins, and even some old currency notes, and made a wall mural out of it. So yes, and that's how I try not to waste things just like that. Otherwise it would have been just lying waste. And this is how I keep doing,
Wow,
re-innovating with things.
Thank you so much. You know what? I think we may have another episode exclusively on what you do, but
Thank
we are
you,
just, thank you so much. I think those are just wonderful jugaad tips of how during this COVID lockdown, we can do a lot with the things that we have at home. Yeah. So
thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let me just unmute. Yes, I have unmuted Savita ji to do her honors.
Yeah, so I want to thank Chavi and I want to thank Divya. They are passionate home gardeners and they come up with such beautiful ideas. And it's so inspiring, Chavi, that you do so many different things and you're saving the environment as well. And you're taking care of,
Thank you.
going ahead with your passion and still saving the environment. And same with Divya also. And it's really amazing having both of you. And thank you, Prabhakar ji, for holding these lockdown sessions, which have inspired thousands. I keep getting reviews, and the last one also for the pest also. It was very, very informative, and people really liked it. We got a lot of feedbacks, and we shall continue these sessions. Prabhakar ji, would you like to say something? And I'm so thankful
Nothing
to
at all. Yes, we are going to have some interesting sessions coming up in the future. We'll keep you all posted through our emails and through the groups that we have. Thank you, one and all, and do enjoy and take care of yourselves during the rest of the lockdown.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
everyone.
Thank you.